Hello and welcome. Welcome to America's favorite enterprise content management show. This is the ECM Show with ImageSource, the show where we explore the real world behind enterprise content management. Now join me in giving a warm Nexus welcome to your favorite host, the incomparable Mr. Ed Figueroa. Gotta love the fans.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have an amazing show tonight. Probably, arguably.
We'll make it even more amazing by hooking up your mic. 1 second, Ed.
Thank you, Ruben. What would I do without you? Arguably one of the best shows in our entire franchise history. Better than last week.
Definitely.
We have a multitude of represented industries today. We have state government.
All right.
Higher education. Pretty lively group we have out there today, Ruben.
They're very excited, Ed.
Yeah, I could tell. You know what? I think we should break it up this way. Can I get everybody in the audience to please stand up?
They're actually doing it, Ed.
Yes. Stay standing if you believe that you clearly understand and can articulate what ECM is, what it means. Stay standing. This is perfect. Okay, we lost a few. We have about 5 minutes of extra airtime. We're going to go around and pull some of you up here. I'm losing you guys. What is happening here? Okay, so as you can see, we struggled out there. There's not a whole lot of people confident about their fields, but we found a few, thanks to you, Ruben.
We did.
Ruben. We found a few. I had to send this man across America, scouring every major metro.
With a specific focus in Olympia.
To find the best of the best. So let's cut to the video.
We're having fun downtown Olympia today, asking people about ImageSource and some of the acronyms that fill our industry. Can you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the phrase enterprise content management?
Star Trek.
That's good. Enterprise content management.
Starship Enterprise.
What comes to mind when you hear the phrase enterprise content management?
Who made that up? That's what I want to know.
Ladies, can you tell me what comes to mind when you hear the phrase enterprise content management?
Smart people. The car rental place. Is enterprise?
Enterprise content management.
Whoa. Huh. Sick feelings. I don't know.
Complete confusion. That sounds like a lot of big words.
Well, what comes to mind when you hear the phrase iLinks?
A good time?
Pardon?
A good time?
A good time?
Yeah, I'm from the South.
Can you tell us the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the phrase enterprise content management?
Enterprise content management. Gobbledygook. I don't know. I have no idea.
How about SharePoint?
SharePoint? Credits? I don't know.
Credits?
Yeah. SharePoint.
How about Nexus?
I don't watch the news much. Is it supposed to be on the news or something? Nexus. Are we going somewhere with this?
Dilbert comes to my mind.
For enterprise content management?
Yeah, Dilbert.
Comes to mind when you hear the phrase enterprise content management?
Management. That sounds like managing, sounds like graphic design.
How about the phrase iLinks?
Sausage.
How about BPM?
Polluted beaches.
Yeah, kind of the same thing.
How about eForms?
Oh no, don't go there.
iLinks.
I thought you said iLinks. I'm like, well.
Connection to the internet, like modem, wireless modem. Yeah.
Enterprise content management. Go.
Oh my gosh. I am definitely drawing a blank. Things are coming to my head like musical instruments.
Something electronic, maybe?
That's what I say most of the time, but it's actually enterprise content management.
Okay. Enterprise what?
How about the phrase Nexus?
Lexus. I own one.
So what comes to mind when you hear the phrase enterprise content management?
Freedom. I just had some wine.
rendered Ed speechless.
Ruben, I don't know what to do with that. I really don't. I don't. But you did a great job. Thanks for your help.
No problem. We had a lot of fun out there.
You know, I got to tell you, acronyms in our industry are daunting. Daunting. I mean, explaining half of what we do is, you know, a major part of the problem, isn't it?
It can be a chore. In fact, describing what we do in our industry can be so difficult. I dated my fiance for 6 months before she realized it didn't work at Kinko's.
So I'm going to go ahead and move along now.
Okay.
You know, once we finally figure out what this thing is all about, this ECM thing that everybody is buzzing about, we have to go to the next step. How do we explain it to our colleagues? How do we do that? Everybody seems to have excuses.
They're a dime a dozen, Ed.
Which brings us to our next segment.
All right.
Top 10 excuses for not adopting ECM technology. Let's start off with number 10, top 10. Acronyms scare me.
Commonly referred to as acronymitis.
Very good, very good. Number 9, will it involve IT? Ugh. These are the jokes, people. Number 8, it's like being on Storm Chasers. Close calls with natural disasters are fun. Top 10 excuses. Number 7, being able to get information faster is only good if you actually want to work. Ruben, do you want to work?
I do, Ed, on Mondays between 9:30 and 10 while I'm planning lunch.
We're going to go ahead and move on. Number 6, my ex was big on compliance, so I don't want anything to do with it.
Which ex, Ed?
Number 5, the round of Find the File would be eliminated from Office Olympics, which I'm told is my fave. I use fave quite often, Ruben. Number 4, if the paper stacks on my desk were gone, what would I hide behind when the boss walks by? By the way, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be interviewing for writers after this show. Number 3, ECM. It's a fad, just like the internet. Number 2, I have no time to discuss this with you today. I'm drowning in paperwork. Maybe the joke's back here? Okay.
No.
And number 1, ROI is overrated.
All right, Roy.
There it is. There it went. Okay, so, Ruben, you did a great job for us this week. Thank you very much. Everybody give Ruben a hand. Okay, let's get down to business. Who do we have here? Great lineup. From the Washington State Employment Security Department, this is going to be riveting, Mike McVicker. Mike, come on out. Good to see you. So, Mike.
You're going to have to promise that you're not going to ask me what ECM is.
I have power here, man. I can do whatever I want. Check this out.
Thank you.
Production, there it is. Okay, so moving right along. Mike, talk to me about your role. What is it that you do?
Well, my title is Assistant Commissioner for Information Technology Services at the Employment Security Department.
You have commissioner in your title.
Yeah.
Can I call you the commish?
Works for me.
Let's blow it up, baby. Let's blow it up. Boom, there it is. Okay, so what do you do in your role?
What do I do? Probably the best description of my job is I'm the single throat to choke in employment security when things go wrong. That's the first thing I do.
That's pretty threatening, actually. Yeah. Do you want to put yourself out there like that here amongst this audience?
Most of them are probably used to that.
So,
second thing I do is I keep all the trains running.
You keep them all running?
If it's got electrons working through it, I'm responsible for it.
Where are your offices located?
In Olympia.
Okay. Do you have a diverse group? I mean, how many do you
We have
facilities?
about 80 offices around the state. We've got 2 large telecenters, one in King County, one in Spokane. We've got about 1,000 people in Olympia.
Wow.
So,
very impressive. So when you embarked on this whole ECM journey, what were the primary business objectives you were looking to accommodate?
we were drowning in paper.
Drowning in paper. Tell me a little bit about that.
Employment security has 2 roles. One is managing the unemployment insurance program for Washington, and the other is managing what we call WorkSource, trying to help people find jobs. On the unemployment side, we quarterly receive tax filings from employers that have both employer data and all the wage data for 3 million people. And on the benefit side, we take all the weekly claims for people who can't find work.
If this show doesn't go very well, I might be giving you a call.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so moving right along, what were the big hits? Where was the home run when you went forward with this?
Well, the first home run was on the tax side with the thousands and thousands of pages of paper that came in. And we went to utilizing imaging technology to stop the paper at the door and convert that into electrons from that point back. So that anywhere in the state, people could get access to information that they needed to, and they didn't have to be constantly calling Olympia to say, hey, could you fax me that piece of paper?
Oh, well, that's impressive. I'm sure that helped a lot of people.
Helped a lot of people.
There's business benefit here.
Lots.
Cue music. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so moving on. How did the automatic workflow come into play? How did that kind of play out?
Well, that was on our benefit side.
Okay.
With roughly half of the people that file an unemployment claim.
So I don't mean to interrupt. So you're on benefits and also
on tax.
Okay,
on
very
both.
impressive. So did you go at it all in one shot, or did you?
No, it was. I'd like to tell you that after a lot of strategic analysis, we decided to do phase 1 and phase 2. It worked a little bit more chaotically, where we did phase 1 and phase 2 landed on us.
On phase 1, did you take on the more aggressive need, or did you?
Again, we were drowning in paper. So you're trying to swim towards the surface. So we got rid of one batch of paper, and now we had to deal with the other side. And that was dealing with all the claims that had issues. So we get paper from claimants, we get paper from employers, and we have people that we call adjudicators that have to pull all the paper together in one place and then make a decision as to whether or not this person should get the benefit.
So how many of these adjudicators were you working with prior to ECM being employed?
At that time, that was before my time, but I'm guessing around 300.
300.
So they'd come to their office every day and walk into a room full of papers and notebooks and all kinds of stuff. And then
Lots of stuff.
One magic day, they walked into their room and everything was gone except for a terminal sitting on a desk.
You know, one of the things that we heard as a value add for EMC is the ability to create these auditable paper trails or to simply monitor what is actually happening. I mean, once upon a time when paper was being pushed manually, we didn't have those opportunities. Was that an impact within your organization? That
was a benefit, but I don't think it was the original objective. Clearly, it was a benefit coming out of it.
I see.
Where we could manage the workflow, we could assign priorities, and a person working in Spokane on a case could call somebody in Olympia. They could pull up the same case and look at the same data and communicate much easier than, again, dealing with paper.
So as the one throat to choke, tell me, are you pretty famous around the operation? Do you get autographs?
Haven't been asked for autographs down there.
You have the connections, you can like totally hook us up. Big baller shot caller.
You need, if you're looking for work, give me a call.
I might be calling you. I might be calling you. Okay, so in the past year, you recently added new ECM technology?
Yeah, we've decided to convert the technology we utilize from more focused on unemployment insurance to focus on some of the other workflow processes in the agency, like human resources. Who doesn't deal with paperwork with human resources? And
especially if you employ me.
And the challenge is we have to maintain that paper for 60 years, state law. So we had to come up with a method of managing all personnel records for 60 years. And we're looking to, again, eliminate paper, go just to purely electronic.
Very nice, very nice. So if you were to take a step back and look at all that was accomplished, what would you consider to be the next step? Because a lot of people, I'll tell you, it's my frustration. People think, okay, I did ECM, I'm done. Can't we make it better? What could we do next?
That's like saying I do IT and I'm done. There's always the next project, and that project is always driven by business circumstances. Our HR project will last about 8 years by the time we get ahead of what we know to be success now. We've not used it at all in the workforce side of the house, and there's been a calling for it. We just have not had the opportunity to look at it yet.
E-forms.
E-forms.
What does that word mean to you?
It means elimination of paper.
And you've
so
recently employed some initiatives here, yeah?
That was in our human resources activity where, job applications, personnel appraisals, salary adjustments, all that is being converted to completely electronic. And the nice thing about that is workflow allows you to implement standardized processes across the organization, and also eliminate losing paper in the mail or whatever.
You might not know this, but I'm a sales guy.
Okay.
And the question I would ask is, what's next? What is the next e-form application we might be able to employ within your organization?
It's a good question.
Come on.
The way I'm going now, probably a resignation application.
Oh, there it is. There it is. We got a good sport here. Okay, so taking a look at everything that has been accomplished, what recommendations, you talked about phase 1, phase 2, what recommendations would you give maybe members of our studio audience here before they embark on an ECM initiative of some sort?
Probably the first recommendation I would make is to sit down with business and just spend some time talking about what does success look like? Envision the future. I mean, we hear about this in the sport arena, and if you watch the Olympics, you remember the shot of I can't think of her name, the downhill skier that was that too. But I think the challenge is that we start out thinking about technologies too soon, and we really need to talk about from a business perspective, what does success really look like? Because that creates the target that we need to move for, and we need to analyze to figure out how do we meet it. It also gives us a nice tripwire to claim victory and move on to the next project.
So knowing what you know today, looking at when you started this initiative, would you have started sooner?
We should, but I'm not sure if the organization was ready for it.
What does that mean?
Again, the IT division was really focused on technology, and we were not sufficiently aligned with business to really understand what business wanted in a way from the business perspective. We deployed an application that was absolutely wonderful technically, but we really missed what success looked like. And the first applications were the one where we made we learned the lessons that we need to implement for projects 2, 3, 4, and 5. So identifying success is the first one.
Very good, very good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Mike McVicker. Thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. Oh, you want to blow it up? That's good. There it is. Okay, so next on the agenda, like I said, we got a great lineup here. We have from First Interstate Bank, none other than Mr. Stacy Hall. Let's give it up for Stacy Hall.
Ed, thank you.
All right, Stacy, I almost tripped over my wireless mic here. So here it is. You nervous? You're looking a little nervous.
Might be.
Okay.
I'll try not to puke on you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You did bring the bucket, right?
It's actually bucket. No, I didn't. Stacy, what do you do at First Interstate Bank?
Well, if you ask my employees, nothing. But actually, I'm working at...
I appreciate the candor. Oh, it says your title here is Vice President. I guess that makes a lot of sense, actually. No,
yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like the FedEx commercials. I've got my MBA. They've got to train me.
Vice President, Senior Operations Officer.
Yes.
You're not looking too senior to me.
No.
I'm just saying.
It's lots of blueberries.
I got you. I got you. So what is your role specifically?
Well, I work in the operations area. Right now, I manage a group. We're the business process management group. We basically oversee most of the ECM systems that we have. So the document repository, we've got Liquid Office. We're also using WriteFax and others, and my team basically keeps that all organized and running and rolling out new projects. We also have the validation department that oversees the capture area. So,
Liquid Office, this is the e-forms.
Correct.
You know, our previous guest was just talking about that. So how many applications have you employed with this e-forms technology?
Well, the business units, we've gone through almost, I would say, half of the business units. There's a couple areas that we haven't. Let's see, I think depends on which ones we break out, but we're 13, 14 different business units that we kind of identify. We've got about half of those currently using them. I think the guys are close to about 300 different e-forms that we're using throughout those different areas. Some of them are automated so that they can submit them electronically. A lot of different areas we use them just to control the information, be able to do database lookups, make it a little bit easier to fill out the forms for the user, and then create that as a tool for them to either scan in or use as a cover sheet, depending on what the process is.
Why don't you share with us a little history about the ECM story at First Interstate Bank? I mean, you've been at this for quite some time.
Yeah, about, I want to say 7 or 8 years ago, we started out along the process. The company went through a stretch when they wanted to obviously increase their efficiencies. One of the ways that they decided that they could do that is try to employ scanning and document imaging technology. So we went through that process and struggled to try to get a scanner to work in our organization, and then we kind of stumbled along, and we actually got a hold of Kofax, and they helped us out with coming out and doing a demo. And then from there, the Kofax representative had pointed out that maybe we should jump in with ImageSource on trying to get some of this figured out, because we were kind of swimming along and couldn't figure out the first place to start. So we started out and went with the new accounts area and all the documents that they have within that department, including the file maintenance that we review and make sure that customers' changing address and such is reviewed, and that we aren't sending statements to the wrong address. We went with the loans and mortgage, I should say consumer loans, and the mortgage department. And we rolled all that out off the bat with the technology, and we started some of the workflows using OnBase's Highland product. It's resold to us as director in the banking organizations. But we went through there, and we started out, I think, with about 5 different workflows and about 40 different document types, and we've just continued to grow from there.
You mentioned quite a few technologies there. We talked about Liquid Office, Kofax. What other solutions?
We've got WriteFax. We just currently switched over from Kofax's ASIS product, which was the internet capture or internet distributed scanning, and we pulled that piece out there. It was a little bit too difficult on our network, so we went with a little bit more thin iLinks product, and we put that in. That seems to be working very well with the distributed capture area. WriteFax is actually something that we're utilizing very well in our indirect banking area. So all the car dealers will send in applications from customers, and those will just be faxed in, and we actually have people working side by side with those applications.
You mentioned ASIS and then iLinks to connect your branch offices. How many branch offices do you work with?
We currently have 72. That might have changed while I've been gone. We've got a few other branches.
Yeah, because you've been gone, what, 3-4 days?
Yeah, well, they come on through the GL, weekly, but no. We've got a couple other branches that are being built currently, so we're working through that. We've got South Dakota, Montana, and Wyoming is where we're currently located. So I'm a consumer,
I walk into a branch office, if I open up an account, should I expect that communication would be received through this distributed solution that you had just mentioned, or is it more along the lines of like I want a loan, borrow money, or something to that effect?
Well, both sides. If we have a new account, right now we're not employing digital signatures or like the Topaz pads. So they would go through the account opening process as normal, or I should say as the customer would be used to with a paper-based. But then from there, they would, instead of going and putting together a paper file, they would just scan the documents, and that process would be finalized. On a loan, it would be a little different. They go through, they scan some of the documentation, and then that would actually start some processes in our operations area to finalize the boarding of the loan.
Very good. So going back to the e-forms, what type of workflows are being employed with your e-forms solution?
The e-forms, we haven't, unfortunately, haven't really dug into that area to utilize the full power of it. Right now, we're kind of looking into a couple different forms. One of them is just a simple request form for firewall changes. So that goes through, automatically goes to the manager for an electronic signature. They do that, that submits it, and then it goes through the final steps with the internet, or I should say the network security department, and then they finalize that through the electronic workflow process. Other than that, we're trying to move that out, work on some mortgage areas, also some onboarding of users, making it a little bit simpler for our branches to request security access for their employees, kind of be a little bit more intuitive. So instead of them trying to choose all of the different things that they have to, we present based on the job title that they're asking. These are the likely computer programs that they would need security access to. Try to make it a little bit easier for all of our disparate branches.
Now I'm going to pick on you just a little bit. Okay. I remember specifically you and I having a conversation about employing some automation. Did you think that technology, in your opinion, might actually bring business benefit to your operation? And you know, where I'm going with this is I really want to understand how we might be able to educate the studio audience here on where automation, OCR technology specifically, might be a good fit, where might it not be a good fit, from your experience?
Yeah. Well, the particular product that we were looking at the time was, I believe, Indicius was the name of it. It's a Kofax product. It had a lot of different abilities and features at the time that we were looking for. We were thinking that in the mortgage department area, you kind of have two sides on that. Do you want to try to break down every particular document and try to organize it so that you have 400 different document types? Or do you want to narrow it down so that the users aren't sitting there trying to sort through and the scanning nightmare that you might have with pre-preparing those documents, and then also from the validation sides, making sure that everything got separated. So we were looking at a technology that might be able to do that for us. At the time, I think that we had maybe 80,000 documents a year to 100,000 pages a year that were going through in the mortgage department area. I mean, now it's grown phenomenally because everybody's refinanced about 8 times on their house, thanks to the lower rates. But you know, we appreciate the fee income. But about the 8th time you refinance your house, you start to wonder if they're really getting the payback. But it happens. It's good for us. Now it's greatly expanded the number of documents that we go through.
How good for you, just so I know?
You know, since I put that program into the GL, I'm getting my dollars.
Got it.
Kind of rolled over.
Got it.
It's been very good.
I was going somewhere with that. Go ahead.
So we wanted to look at that product and tool and see if that would offset some of the work that would be done at the branches. At the time that we looked at it, our volume just wasn't high enough to justify the cost. We're already taking another look at it now to see, you know, it might be the right time. We want to start getting into electronically submitting our mortgages to Fannie Mae and Citibank, and whenever we're selling those off in the secondary market. So now is a good time for us to take a look at that again and say maybe it's time to start separating out every document instead of putting them in groups.
Okay, very good. You know, business is growing. These are some of the things that'll help you get there. Yeah. Maintain that competitive edge.
Exactly.
Next question, lessons learned. If you were going to give us all in this audience advice, your ECM strategy involves a multitude of technologies, clearly. What would you advise us to do? I mean, do we go aggressive? Do we go conservative? I mean, what's your perspective? What have you learned from your experience?
I think the biggest thing that we found and that we've been successful at is whenever we actually work with a particular business department, kind of figure out what problems and issues that they have, and then work to develop and tailor a solution to them. Anytime that we've tried to start off a project by saying, okay, we can go fix this for that particular group, that's where we typically get into an area where we're not as successful. And we have to do a lot of rework in the end, and we have to go back and typically fail the first time. But if we really get the business units involved up front, we go through and do our due diligence before anybody actually is told that we're going to deliver a solution, and we go through and figure out their problem, tailor that fit, and what we're going to solve, and then we provide them a look at that. We've been very successful in our projects and rollout there. And so if I was going to say to anybody is make sure that you, instead of pushing out to particular departments, make sure that they want it, that they're going to own it, that they're comfortable with the change that's going to happen, so that they're going to have to go through and they're going to have to start scanning documents. They're going to have to make changes to the way that they used to prepare their documents. Make sure they understand that and they grasp it and that they really want to do it before you start trying to roll anything out to that group.
So what's next for First Interstate Bank? What's the next challenge that you're going to tackle with ECM?
We're slowly moving into and trying to work on how we're going to utilize Liquid Office eForms and start basically working in between multiple systems to be able to reduce the amount of keystrokes that people have. So whenever I say that, hopefully we'll be getting to the point on some of our solutions where a user might go in, type in a small bit of information, we'll go and query a database, populate that form, maybe go through a couple other steps that might present the user with an opportunity to make changes, and then post using the form, submitting that to other data sources and possibly making changes in those. So reducing the amount of steps that they would take, automatically going through and making the transaction complete, and then storing that document as a record without somebody going over and saying, okay, well, I got a paper document or I have an image of a document, and now I have to go type the information in on that document in another system. So kind of combining the ability to flow information from one source all the way through the process without increasing the amount of work that the users have.
Well, Stacy, I got to say thank you very much for your participation today. It's been great. Everybody, let's give Stacy a hand. So on that note, we are actually going to take a small commercial break. We'll be right back.
Hey! What's going on here?
Paper party! Janice got us some Fujitsu Scan Snap scanners.
Listen, I knew that as office manager, the Fujitsu Scan Snap has cool features, like scanning a bunch of pages at once, both sides, at the push of a button. We digitized all of our documents. These files don't need them! Scan Snap.
Has anyone seen the Henderson file? They're all on the shared drive now, Fred. I explained to Fred that our files are better organized so he doesn't have to waste time fishing through all those papers. Be careful with these. I think I handled it pretty well.
We finished the plans for the full-scale papier-mâché replica of the Statue of Liberty.
The statue idea, that's nice. But I have an idea that management can't ignore. Fred Yada.
We found new uses for the filing cabinets. Medium well, please.
We found that we have more time to be productive.
It's a bird. Don't you see it?
Bob, the big boss wants to see you.
When I was called into the big boss's office, I knew it was about the whole mess with the paper party. But I was there to stand up for my employees, not to kowtow to my corporate superiors. He just wanted to thank me for all the time and money we were saving by scanning the files. I knew the boss would be impressed. I know when my employees are onto something, and I know when to take the credits.
Tell us how you'll scan Snap and be entered to win a $100 gift card. Just visit scansnapcommunity.com/tellus.
And we're back. Now, ladies and gentlemen, gotta love our sponsors. Next on the list from San Jose State University, it is none other than Peter Deutsch. Let's give him a hand.
Test 1, 2.
You're on. You're on. This is live TV, Peter. So, Peter, let me ask you. You are, according to my notes here, Director of IT, Senior Director of IT. It's just not doing anything for me. What do you do?
I'm the IT guy, you know, the preventer of IT services from Dilbert.
Is it true what they say about IT, guys?
Depends.
That everything you say is technically accurate, but of no use to anyone.
Yeah, that's been true in the past.
Kid.
We're working to fix that.
I kid. Tell me a little bit about your role.
Okay, well, I like to think I'm the guy that herds the cats.
Yeah.
So I work for one of the divisions in the university, the Division of Student Affairs. So the academic affairs guys are all the professors in the classes, and the admin and finance guys are the HR. We take care of all the services for students. We do the admissions processes. We do the records while you're at university taking courses. We do financial aid. We've got 23 departments providing services to students. And I think we're one of the largest groups of employees in the campus as well.
This is a relatively new adventure you guys are embarking on. I mean, what was the history there?
Well, if you want to imagine what San Jose State like, it's been going since the 1850s, and we've been collecting various processes. We've recently retired our quill pens and ink, but basically we're paper process. And one of the things,
pens and ink.
Yes, and no, seriously, we have things that you look at them, they were written on cards. And so we like to say we're embarking on dragging the university kicking and screaming into the 20th century. I'd like to have a stretch goal of actually reaching the current century. But so what we're trying to do here is take on all of our paper processes and seeing which of them we can automate and improve service and improve response.
Lots of business units, I'm sure that you support. Where did it get first employed?
Okay, the very first rollout, this is interesting. I like to describe the management structure of a university as sort of like 14th century Europe. There's no one king who can order things to be done. So in this case, it was Division of Administration and Finance and the Student Affairs Division got together and said, we both realize we need this, we're going to jointly fund it as a joint project. It was understood that this will eventually go across the whole university, but that's where it started out. And so the very first project, we made the initial mistake of trying to do the two projects together, and I very quickly realized that wasn't working, so we actually then staggered them. And so the finance folks went first. They did the requisition to PO process, and now we're just coming up to beta on the admissions process for student affairs.
San Jose, Northern California, great weather. What do you think of our weather here?
So far, so
it's
good.
It's right behind you. I just want you to take a look. See, beautiful night.
Yeah,
beautiful
yeah.
night.
Well, I know a guy that worked on a project here for 2 years. He would fly in and out. At the very last week of the project, he actually saw a mountain. He was very impressed. So I gather this happens once a year, twice a year?
Oh, it happens every night here.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. Oh, in here, sure,
yes,
not out there.
Yes,
right.
yes. Okay, so what was the next department that embarked on this journey after you had your initial success?
Okay, well, so the initial direct-to-PO process went live in June and is chugging along quite nicely. So then my group got back in the groove, and so we're now doing, it's called the admissions process. So if you can imagine any student wants to apply to us, they have to go through this process. We get over 40,000 applications a year and have about 30-odd thousand active students. So we've started the process, and we know this is not the only thing we're doing. We're going to do the admissions process first, and once that's done, then we're going to go on to the actual the registrar process, which keeps the active students, and the financial aid process as well. So.
Very good, very good. I really want to understand your enrollment services application, because in my market segment in TV land, I have a lot of universities that might be interested in something like this.
Well, the best way to imagine what it looks like today is we're in the Student Services Center, which is actually the ground floor of a garage that's been converted. And the whole back is where they keep all the confidential student records. And there's an area that, how many people have seen what's the movie Indiana Jones and the Lost Crusade, where they're pushing all those the box into the back? Anyone seen that one? Well, that's pretty much what we have in the back there. We have this giant room full of paper folders.
I have a sudden vision of you going to work dressed like Indiana Jones.
Oh, and on Talk Like a Pirate Day, I dress like a pirate, exactly.
Very good, very good.
But that's really it. We've got this giant room full of folders, and every year we generate 40-odd thousand new folders and wheel them into the room and then keep them up where the students live there. And when they graduate, we stamp them. And that's what we're trying to attack here is we can't keep doing that. That's a very paper-intensive, very labor-intensive process. And the worst of it is, I mean, a transcript will come in, it'll get lost. It takes us up to 2 weeks to get a transcript into that folder, transcribed, and into PeopleSoft, which is our content management.
So you actually had a defined business problem there, and I'm sure you did a due diligence, you kicked some tires, see what's out there. Where did you end up going, and talk to me about that journey?
Okay, well, I was not there for the initial part of the process, although the program manager who's running it is here. Well, if anybody wants to meet her, I'll introduce you later in the corridor. But they went through this process of saying, we're going to pick a couple of processes to go first. That was the first thing they did, which was a good thing to do. Okay. And so they did go through a formal RFP process. It's the state of California, very convoluted purchasing rules. And ImageSource won the project. What we liked about it, it was a turnkey system, off-the-shelf software that was going to be integrated together, lowered some of the risks on that side. And they could actually bring in several different pieces. We've got both Kofax and Abby for the capture side. We've got the IPM solution for the workflow management, which is very important to us. And the one that they really get excited about over in admissions is iLinks to integrate in with PeopleSoft so that we can actually be in PeopleSoft, hit the button, and call up the actual.
That would be the iLinks integration.
The iLinks integration part,
Tell me about that. What exactly is that doing?
Okay, well, so to do that, you have to actually see the value chain. So we have documents come in for student records from a lot of different ways. You can email them to us. You can we have EDI transfer from partner schools, and people can mail us paper, and the paper will have to be scanned and captured. Once it gets into IPM, we're going to be we push the data directly into PeopleSoft, because PeopleSoft is the system where you're going to make all your decisions. That's where you go to see the kid's transcripts and see his grades and so on. But when you're trying to make this decision of whether the person has the right courses for the background to transfer, you need to say, okay, it's a course, but is that actually the course I think it is, and what's the equivalent to our course here? And that's where the iLinks comes in, because it's the button. You hit the button, and you'll actually get the kid's transcript will pop up on your screen.
Do you guys call it the magic button?
Actually, they do. They call it the button. They don't call it the magic button, but we did a little video for the ImageSource folks, and the AVP for Enrollment Services was so excited when she saw the button work. That was the big thing for her, is the button.
The button.
So if we'd done nothing but a button on a web page, it might have been enough. Who knows? It could have saved $1 million.
So what do you do with that? How many applications are processed annually within your
well, so we get about 40, I understand it's about 42,000 applications. And now that's the whole package. Some applications may only be a few documents, but if you're an overseas student, we have to track your visa documentation, your financial aid information. So a package, I mean, these files can end up this thick of paper that has to be processed. And so it's hundreds of thousands of documents.
My application was rejected, Peter. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, and I've seen why. No hard feelings.
Moving right along. I have no words. Processing transcripts is pretty challenging. Clearly, there's a multitude of technologies that are involved. Do you feel today versus yesterday that your systems are far more fluent in the process?
Well, to be fair, I'm not sure if we're not the guys who've jumped off the 30-story building and we're halfway down and so far so good. We're not actually in beta yet. That's supposed to start next week. But I will say from what we've seen so far, the promise of this system is really quite dramatic. As I said, not only is it up to 2 weeks to get a transcript into the system, and we have an ongoing problem of, so an evaluator says, I need this document, so the kid will drop it at the front counter. It will never get into the file because it stays in the drawer after the guy's seen it. So what I'm feeling is the ability to push the information in and get up the updates the next morning is really, really exciting people.
So exciting, you want to throw one of these cards into our window back here?
Can I do that?
Please, go for it, man.
Oh.
Throw it hard. There it is, there it is. Okay, so lessons learned.
That's my job.
Lessons learned, if you were going to give us advice on how to tackle this monster challenge, ECM in general, what advice would you give the audience?
Okay, well, speaking as a technologist, I will tell you, it's actually, the way we say is we're rocket scientists. You know, it's rocket science, but we're rocket scientists. That's not the hard part. The hard part has really been the process changes, the culture changes, and getting the business to really understand what we're asking them to do. So if we had it to do over again, I would have more time spent up front. We had to take our project, slow it down, and spend a huge amount of time documenting the current process. The other thing is once you get there, then you start to say what the process should be, as opposed to what you're doing. It's not a matter of, you know, I need electronic quill pens. No, we actually need to change the process. So that was a real lesson for us, and that's why I'm really glad we picked one. We did it, and it's going to really pay off as we go to do the others.
Times are hard in this economy. I'm imagining it's pretty cutthroat out there, competitively speaking. How has this technology possibly made you more competitive?
Okay, it's a little harder to talk in a university about being competitive. It's not like we, cut the student up and we share them or anything like that. But it is definitely an issue. I will say what it's done is we are getting to a point where the response times are going to be much, much better. I mean, having a kid call us because we lost his transcript 2 weeks ago and he's facing deadlines and so on. That's where the competition kicks in. To be the university of all the ones I applied to that really seem to have their act together, that would be a nice place to be. And that's where we're moving towards. So I think what it does is it helps you with that perception of a university that actually listens to the kids.
So oversights like Ed Figueroa's application in 1991 might have been an opportunity where we could improve the process.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. How does the technology implemented affect the department university-wide, all the departments?
Well, this is interesting because once once this thing was funded and the work started, folks came out of the woodwork to try to get into it, and we actually made a mistake of trying to be everything to everybody. We had to learn to actually put people in queues. I will say the academic affairs folks are actually organizing a retreat in about 2 weeks to start bringing themselves aboard. They are very excited. They all have processes that need, and it's really not even, the image store part of it is very interesting, the capture part is interesting, but this workflow automation part, being able to capture that and getting it down and manage that, that's really, really popular on campus right now.
Well, that's great, that's great. Do you have any comments, general comments about your efforts that you'd like to share with the audience?
I think I'll again repeat what I said about how important it's to understand the processes you're trying to do and what they should be as opposed to what they are. The other thing is that I've sort of started to realize, and it's actually the thing we're working on right now, is folks get very vested. Even in a bad process that doesn't work well, they get very vested in that because that's what they do for a living. And managing that transition to a new system that changes the way they do business, there's challenges in there, and don't downplay how much that's going to have to be part of your planning. The technology, it's the 90-90 rule. The first 90% is the technology, and the other 90% is everything else. And you've really got to allow for all those other parts of it as well.
Good. Okay, so this is what I've been waiting for all night. Give me your best Indiana Jones impersonation. Go ahead, fire away.
Oh, God.
Come on.
At my age, I can't remember the
Everybody,
movie.
give him a hand. Come on, let's get Indiana Jones. Let's go, let's go.
Oh, God, somebody help me out here.
Dun, 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 dun,
What's the little kid's name? Come on, help me out here. Short route. I can't do it. No, I'm panicking.
We'll cut you some slack. Everybody, give him a hand one more time. Peter, you've been great. Thanks for coming. You've been a good sport, by the way. Dealing with me, it's not an easy task.
I did notice, yeah. I was watching the other videos. So.
Yeah. So everybody, this is Peter Deutsch from SJSU. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you know what? I think we need some more Ruben out here. What do you guys say? Ruben! Come on out here. Ruben, we've had a great show.
The best show ever, Ed.
I agree. I agree. The best show in our franchise history. It was actually better than last night's.
Definitely, definitely. Last night's was not as good as this one.
No, it was not. No, it was not. Audience, did you guys have a good time? All right, all right. So I'm ready for a beer myself personally. How about you? I mean, what are we doing tonight?
You still want to hang out with me, Ed? That's great. At 5:30, we will be at Lucky Strike. There'll be shuttles from 5 to 6, taking you back and forth to the Maiden Bower to Lucky Strike. And there'll be dinner provided.
Very
You like to
nice.
eat?
Very nice. I'm hungry.
How about bowling?
I can bowl. Not very good.
Get to bowl.
I'm going to be there. Now, what about shuttles coming back home?
Shuttles coming back home.
Last
well,
one out?
If you're staying at the hotel, the shuttles will get you to Lucky Strike, and you're going to have to walk to your hotel from there. But if you're driving, you can park at the Hyatt.
Oh.
It's free after 8, so you get into the garage, and then after 8, it'll be free. Stay as late as you like.
Are we good? Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for tonight. It's been a great time, and I will see you next time. Good job.
You did it, too.
Thank you for joining us for the ECM Show with ImageSource. Please join us in the Technology Center upstairs. Talk with our many sponsors about how they can help create your own innovative solutions or enhance your existing ECM system. Dessert will also be served before leading into the next educational round of breakout sessions, followed by an exciting event at Lucky Strike sponsored by Fujitsu, an evening you do not want to miss. Once again, thank you to our Nexus sponsors, Fujitsu, iLinks, Kodak, Panasonic, IBM, Oracle,